I'm a former baseball player. Shout out Cleveland Heights. Shout out Baldwin Wallace. Pitchers and catchers reported this week. So even if you have a bunch of cheapskate asshole owners, the boys of summer reporting for their version of preseason is still a big deal for baseball fans. So keeping up with the theme, there's a lot going on in baseball right now, right? Coming out of winter meetings, we have spring training, Guardians, no pregame show for road games. Don't know if you saw that one. That was a mess. But the big
We
news
can
is
get into
that,
that.
yeah, we'll talk a little bit about it. But I think the biggest news for baseball going into the year is that MLB is prepared to add a salary cap. I don't want to do what I've done in times past and overshare on this one before you guys have a chance to weigh in, but it's a big deal. Eric, tell us what you think.
I'm going to respectfully disagree. I don't think it's a big deal at all. Hear me out. It's not going to happen. That's the long and short of it. But let me explain further. Manfred's already laying the groundwork to against this, essentially saying that there's more than one way to skin a cat when it comes to the issues. Players are going to strike again if this is voted into approval, like they did in 94, 95. And a league that generated $12.1 billion this past season, I'm not sure that the owners have a stomach for a protracted battle like they'll have on their hands. But let's back up a little bit, though, because the thing that I find most interesting about the proposal here is that the owners that are calling for it, right? So what you would think and what you would expect would be Guardians ownership, Tampa Bay ownership, maybe even Milwaukee ownership. Hal Steinbrenner of the Yankees, he said to Yes Network, he said to Yes Network, it's difficult for most of us owners to be able to do the kinds of things that they're doing now. He is, of course, referring to the Dodgers. There is one team in baseball that is throwing the wrench that has owners losing their minds. David Rubenstein, a private equity billionaire and the new owner of the Baltimore Orioles, he said during the World Economic Forum to Yahoo Finance, I wish it would be the case that we would have a salary cap in baseball the way other sports do. This guy is a billionaire. He is one that can spend like anybody else, and it's all because of the Dodgers. Now, keep in mind that the Guardians, they have their own billionaire in David Blitzer. He is a minority owner at this point. I think that move to majority ownership, I feel like we're going to see it sooner than some people think. I hope anyway. But
oh my God, that'd be great.
I know, I can't wait. He's worth about like 3.5 billion, which is funny because we think of the Yankees and the success that they've had as an organization and being able to spend any amount of money. Well, Hal is only worth like $1.5 billion. But the brand equity that's built in the Yankee organization obviously is so much that they bring in so much money. Anyway, as Noah would say, I digress. Manfred is laying the groundwork saying there's other options. So what could those options be? I'll give you three. First, make the luxury tax thresholds higher, but penalties steeper. If you make those penalties steeper, you make a percentage, say 50%, whatever it is, that would go back to the small market teams. So you spend too much like the Dodgers, that tax that you're going to pay, half of it's going to go back to small market teams. You should also redistribute the draft picks to give small market clubs better positions and additional selections, winning through selection. And finally, force teams to spend. I know that sounds silly, but institute penalties for falling below certain payroll thresholds, similar to the luxury tax structure.
So you hit on something there that I want to piggyback on because you're exactly right. I do think it's a big deal if it goes through. I do have my reservations. I think it's good for competitive balance, and it's great for smaller market teams. It'd be good for Cleveland because the first thing players are going to do is counter after a work stoppage. Let's just throw that out there. There will be a strike or a lockout or whatever. Mm-hmm. This isn't going to end without a strike. But after that, you can bet that a salary floor will be part of this. If you can only spend $200 million a year on your baseball roster, you have to spend $150 million a year on your roster. I'm usually against things that limit the power of the players. But here it's really going to help ensure competitive balance, give teams like the Guardians a chance or a mandate, because we've had a chance to keep talent and opted not to, but a mandate to keep the talent here. I think this could be a really big deal if it goes through. I just have reservations on the players union accepting it. I've seen strikes before drag out for less. Whether or not we actually get there, and whether or not both sides have the balls, so to speak, to get to that point. Because also, we're not talking about Major League Baseball in the steroid era when everybody was making money hand over fist because Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds were just jacking home runs with Mark McGwire. We're talking about ratings being down. People talk about games being too long, and viewership is not what it used to be. So a work stoppage is going to further poison that well. But Noah, what do
They
you
have
think?
had a rebound, to be fair. And Noah, I want to hear what you think, but just two more quick points.
Go for it, man.
The first is that I want them to go crazy with that salary floor. I don't want it to just be a monetary penalty. I want the rights of your ball club to be in jeopardy if you don't spend. You don't hit that floor for 2 years in a row or 3 years in a row, then we're going to find new ownership. They're going to pay you the cash, but we're going to find new ownership. The second point is if we do have a strike, which I'm not for, but I am all for replacement players. Let's see it like the NFL did back in the day. I just think it would be fun. We could get another movie out of it. Keanu Reeves is still kicking. He could be a pitcher. That's all.
With our
So-
farm team, we should be about 72-3 at the end of the replacement players. We do
Right,
well with
They'd be,
Ryder.
they've signed major league contracts, though, so I think they'd be part of the strike technically because they're covered by the union, aren't they?
Yeah, you would have to go for like super, like the Lake Erie Crushers are going to be playing in Progressive
Dusting
Field
that
is what
arm
we're
off,
talking
baby.
about right now.
Let's go. Me and you,
So you're
John.
saying there's a chance.
So listen, I was taking the time to really digest what you had to say because you hit on a lot of the big talking points I've had. The Yankees ownership talking about this kind of thing on the Yes Network and all of that. To me, I think it comes down to this. Whatever makes it fair. I'm not saying there can't be and there shouldn't be a little bit of a slide like there is in some of these other leagues. The NBA, if you're in a bigger market, you have a little bit more salary cap to work with than, say, I don't know, us, even if you wanted to use an example, Orlando, what have you. I just think there is a lot of things going on with the MLB right now that are not going right and are jeopardizing the brand of America's pastime, the oldest sport in the country, however you want to put it that way. It's frustrating to me because people are going to be stuck in their ways and the players have their rights 100% to strike and want there not to be a salary cap because of the money it lines their pockets for years and years and years, these 20-year deals when they're not even on the roster anymore. But for a fan of a small market, like the three of us are, it's always kind of feels like, oh, well, we got to the Yankees and we put 2 good games on them and now we're back into the regular season. You know what I mean?
Yep. And I will say this too. The reason I'm excited as a small market team guy is the damn disparity is so big. If it was like the NBA with luxury tax and the way they worked, and you're like, okay, when you're making your championship run and you kept some really good players like your Donovan Mitchell or your LeBron in the seasons past, it's not so bad. Bro, the Athletics spent $60 million on payroll last year, and the Mets spent over $300 million. That is a titanic, gargantuan, Grand Canyon of a gap. That's not even competitive. Like, it's so much too. And I'll tell you what else.
Neither have a ring, though. They finished in the same place.
That's fair at home. Guardians are going to win this championship because they spent under $100 million. It depends on how you look at it, what you call salary cap, but they spent about $100 million and we're a heartbeat away from the World Series. Can you imagine what we did if the Dolans had to, by mandate, double the
I
payroll
wouldn't
next
call
year?
us a heartbeat away from the World Series, but I take your point. I
That's
mean,
the ALCS,
listen,
isn't it? Is there another
Yeah, but we
that
lost pretty
a
handedly to
heartbeat is
the
like
Yankees.
6 games, 7 games in the ALCS.
Oh, yeah,
You
I got you. I'm
lose.
sorry. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We fell short a step before the World Series. Gotcha.
There's another option here, and it's just kick the Dodgers out of the MLB. I mean, they're the problem child pretty much on their own. Yes, Yankees in the past, and I mean, we keep blaming the Dodgers, but to be fair, as you said, the Mets had the highest payroll of any team.
The Mets and
But
Yankees
there's only
both
a handful.
outspent the Dodgers, I think.
Yankees didn't. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it went Mets, Dodgers, Yankees. And there might even be one more. Hold on, I'll tell you in a second.
The Phillies and
It's
the
just-
Astros are way up there, but yeah.
it's just it's frustrating, right? As a small market team to watch the Dodgers win in very convincing fashion in the World Series, and then
You were
add
right.
3 or 4 more players to that roster that are like would be a game changer just to be in the lineup or the rotation pitching wise for the Guardians. And they're just like the third guy, the seventh batter. You know what I mean?